You're listening to the Final Whistle podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow us on there. Or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the Final Whistle podcast. My name's Harry McBain and I'm joined as usual by Bobby Addison. He's here with me. We're back and we're going to be giving you a roundup of our thoughts on the latest news in English football. And we're going to start off with probably what is one of the biggest discussions going on at the moment, and it's all around Manchester United and who their next manager will be.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, it seems to be that Erik ten Hag, the Ajax manager, is set to take over with a potential announcement date coming really soon. Do you think he's the best option to take over at Old Trafford, Bob?
I would say probably, yeah. I mean, there's not that much out there other than maybe Pochettino or Zidane, but they're really probably not going to come to United. It seems like he's a young and more up-and-coming manager. So, yeah, it would make sense. They've tried the project with Ole and that didn't work. So I think they're just going for a prodigy, like a clearly proven quality manager that they hope will actually bring the right qualities into the club.
Yeah, he seems like the most logical one. They've already got it might help Van der Beek come back into the team because obviously he worked with them at Ajax.
Yeah,
he's very good with youth and developing that, which I think is something United need to focus on more instead of trying to get major transfers in.
Yeah, because they don't always work, rarely even.
And Wayne Rooney, when he was on Monday Night Football the other day, said that he thinks Pochettino would be the ideal one. That seems to be apparently the Man United dressing room supposedly want Pochettino. How true that is, I don't know. But do you think Pochettino, obviously he was at Spurs and did well, but hasn't really worked at PSG? Do you think he's, I would say, qualified enough? But do you think he?
I think Pochettino is low key kind of overrated. I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but like he never won anything at Tottenham. He won nothing. They got nowhere near the title other than that one season when Leicester won, and we got near it, and that says something. But he's never won anything. His first season at PSG, he flopped, and they didn't win the league. They've fallen out of the Champions League again. They're not winning the league as comfortably as they would be, especially with all the players they've signed. I think where does everyone get this backing of like Pochettino is one of the best managers in the world? What has he actually done to get that title? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is based off. If you look at Spurs now, you can see how good Pochettino is doing to try and even get them second place. But I understand what you're saying. He's not one, I think, which is something Man United need, is someone who can win stuff.
He's not a winner, no.
And Pochettino, again, he's got a good record with young players, which he used at Spurs and at Southampton. But as you said, he hasn't won anything. And hasn't won anything for, I think the last trophy he's won was like the French Cup or something, which again isn't really
exactly
special. So
was that with PSG.
It was with them. I don't know whether it was this season or last season or whatever, but he's not gone really to plan for him at PSG, whether that's because of the amount of players that they've got there of such high quality, but you thought you'd be able to win something. As I said, Rooney wanted Pochettino in, and obviously we've seen previously Sir Alex Ferguson's had input on managerial appointments. Do you think United need to kind of maybe keep club legends out of it and have people like Rangnick who are maybe supposedly technically smarter with football?
I think so. Like they've got to stop living off of their past. I think that's how you have to use your past to elevate you, and obviously you like in a sense, I don't know what the word is. Just have it as your values for your club, and that is what it means to play for Manchester United, the same way that Arteta's doing. But you've got to sort of let go from the fact. You just got to let go from them, making decisions in the club because those times are past, and they might just be better to let the new generation come through and bring forward new ideas rather than listening to what the old guys are saying, because they had their time obviously, but football's totally different now. So it just depends, and I think they just need to move on. I think it's probably clear from the amount of managers they've had now that they need to stick with a sensible manager who's going to sort out the club, because I think that sort of thing is the most important rather than the quality of players they have, because they have good quality players already.
Yeah, I think when it comes also with the having the right squad with them for a manager to build long term, they're going to have to find a way to clear out some of the deadwood. Paul Pogba, I think, is definitely one of the biggest ones. Whether he'll be leaving on a free, which looks most likely at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to have to be a large clear out at United to get rid of players that just aren't up to the quality, perhaps
I
that?
would say, yeah, probably. Because if you look at like from an Arsenal's perspective, they've obviously had like that massive clear out of deadwood players that not necessarily drag down the club, but aren't the right kind of players that the manager wants. And I'm sure when Ten Hag comes in, he'll do a clear out. Obviously it takes a long time, maybe 2-3 years to get all the players out that you want, but they definitely need to clear out the players that aren't positively influencing the club, even if they have the qualities to be a great player. We've seen it in Arsenal with Guendouzi, who's been, exiled out, Ozil, Aubameyang, obviously more recently. So I think it's all important about the team being a unit and playing for the manager and buying into the philosophy of what he's trying to do. And I think they'll definitely introduce that as things go on, and they'll stop going for the big names and go for sensible signings, because it's the best way to do it, really.
Yeah, yeah. Arsenal have done it well, and they've recovered to somewhat near Champions League football again.
Yeah, a certain extent.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely got to happen with United. There are certain players in there that really are good. Do you think one with Rashford, who's supposedly unhappy, can you see that as a realistic person that's going to leave? Because he's obviously a Man United academy. It's saying like he's going to potentially leave, but where could he end up? He's not really hit major quality at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. He obviously has potential, but I don't see I don't see him at any club other than United. Sorry, you say that now because he's the academy prospect that they've had over the last few years. But yeah, I personally can't give you an answer to where he'd be, because I have no idea where Rashford would fit in, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
Can't
fair.
imagine it.
If we look a bit further down the Premier League table, we can see Everton really struggling. They're 1 point above the relegation zone. Last night,
Yeah,
which
it's
we're
bad.
we're recording on Thursday. Last night they lost to Burnley 3-2. They've got United,
Yeah.
Liverpool, and Chelsea in their next 2 games. Do you think that Everton are going to stay up, or do you think it's more likely they're going to go down?
Um, I don't know. They obviously have good players, quite unquote good players. So it would make sense that they stay up, but it really looks like they're not going to.
Mm,
Okay. If you look at the situation, everything would point towards them going down. Obviously, that result against Burnley was definitely a bad one for them. Like, they had to win that game, and they dropped off. Could have been a lot worse. They got lucky with 2 penalties. So yeah, I would personally do think they're going to go down. I think the teams would be able to go stay up. I think it would be hilarious. I want it to go down, but yeah, I don't know. It's looking more and more likely every week that they're going to go down, because they just don't seem to pick up any form, and they haven't all season.
yeah, it's a strange one because Everton have been obviously one of like the key clubs in the Premier League over pretty much all of its history.
Yeah, they've never been. I don't think they've ever been relegated, have they?
No,
In their history.
it just doesn't seem right thinking that Everton could be in the Championship next year because they just seem too big of a club
Yeah,
almost. And if you look through the squad, they've like I can see none of their players there staying in their
no,
starting 11, apart from maybe like Theo Walcott type person.
yeah,
Is he at Southampton now? I can't remember actually.
yeah. He's Southampton. Yeah,
Maybe it's Townsend. That's what I'm thinking of. Townsend is
Townsend. Yeah,
more likely to stay, but a lot of
I
those.
mean, he's still half decent. Like, he's not terrible. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you're starting 11, who have they got? They haven't got Digne anymore, have they? But like, I don't know, Ben Godfrey, Mason Holgate, those sort of players you imagine staying. But even like Jordan Pickford, Allen, Calvert
Richarlison
Lewin,
will go.
Richarlison. What sort of wingers do they have? Do they have good wingers? Damari Gray, he's a great player. You know,
Yeah,
it'd
and I
be
mean
weird.
they just spent so much money on the left back, like Mikalenko.
Yeah,
He's quality. Like I can't see him in the Championship. Whether
no,
they'd do just loan a load of players out instead of trying to sell them.
yeah.
Do you
maybe.
think because Everton's this season has been dreadful for them? Do you think it was destined to go wrong when Rafa Benitez took over?
It
Because
wasn't. I don't think it was destined to go wrong. They have, they it did look like it at the start of the season because they obviously made no. Well, they made like two signings. It was Damari Gray and Townsend, and that was it. And they brought in the rival, the manager of their arch rival team, which was just a really weird move, and it obviously didn't pay off at all. So yeah, they weren't destined because obviously he's technically a good manager. He's done well in the past, but yeah, it just went. If they could have predicted it going the worst possible way, it has gone that worst possible way. Of course, we've got Deli Ali
yeah,
signed for them. Van
on
der Beek is on loan, but it's like these kind of players aren't be playing in the championship. So why did they go for these sort of washed up players? Like why? It doesn't make any
yeah,
sense.
the whole philosophy at Everton doesn't seem to be right. I think the owner has a lot of input, and I'm not sure how
Yeah,
um, knowledgeable he is on actual ways of running the club in the best way because they haven't been going and really signing the best style of player. They've just been to
no,
go whoever's a name, let's take them.
yeah,
Um, but then again, they have signed like that. Ben Godfrey was really good at Norwich.
yeah.
So they have signed some players that are good, also some players that aren't. Um,
They signed some players for the name, some players with potential, and those players they signed with potential, some have worked out and some haven't. I.e., like the Michael Keane, who was hyped up to be like a really, really good centre back,
mm,
has been not very good at all. Yerry Mina, he's been half decent. Ben Godfrey, you said he's been pretty good. So it's been very hit and miss with their recruitment, hasn't it? Obviously, Damari Gray has been playing pretty well this season. Obviously, he's
yeah,
down a little bit, but like he's been, for it was I think it was a free transfer or something. He's been pretty good. Like, yeah, so it's
yeah.
just weird.
It's strange looking at players there and just the way that if you look over the last few managers as well that they've got they've had through the door and look at some of the most recent successful-ish ones like Sam Allardyce did relatively well when he was there
Yeah,
but what he was left with but then was thrown out the door even like Bilic was there and he was all right they've gone also with maybe not just signing the wrong players but signing the wrong managers in because
definitely. Yeah, that's also a factor for sure.
a lot of them haven't worked out. Well, I mean, all of them haven't worked out because they've been sacked, but um,
Yeah,
they've had Coman, Marco Silva in there, Bilic, Sam Allardyce, Ancelotti, which was out of their hands really going to Real Madrid,
mm.
which is obviously a lot of better of a move for him. But
Ancelotti signing was definitely like it felt like it was going to be a turning point. That was a good summer when they brought in like lots of quality players, and it kicked off pretty well, didn't it? They had that start of the season in the first lockdown season where they were top league for like what 10 games in. I think they were doing
yeah,
really well. Obviously, it dropped off massively, and he pissed off to Real Madrid, so could just turn on you that quickly. It's crazy.
and the fact that when he was there and he's in, they dropped off, and but it was never this bad. They were like 10th or something like that. So it shows you
Yeah,
that Ancelotti's a brilliant manager. That's
they
the
wouldn't be in
best.
this situation if he was still the manager. Even
Yeah.
if his heart wasn't in it, they wouldn't be playing this badly.
Yeah. Do you think that Lampard was the right choice to take over, considering he has no real
I mean, no,
experience in
definitely
this
not.
field?
They took another massive gamble with a new young manager who obviously we know doesn't have that much experience other than, a few jobs
Yeah.
what was it, Derby, he's managed that, and then obviously Chelsea where he was okay, but didn't do that good, didn't get anywhere in the Champions League, obviously lost to Arsenal in the FA Cup final. So yeah, it was a massive risk and it clearly hasn't paid out. I'd like to know his involvement in the transfers in January. I want to know, how much of an impact he had on those signings, because it would be
Mm.
interesting to see if he specifically asked for some of those players,
I
or was
think
he just
with Lampard, it all went wrong with the move to Chelsea. With that was the wrong decision.
yeah.
For him, but you can't turn it down as much. He took Derby in his first season there from like seventh or sixth to sixth place at the end of the season. So
Mhm.
he didn't improve them. Um, maybe if he'd stayed there another season, they could have gone a bit further. Obviously, they lost the playoff final. Then at Chelsea, and then he's at Everton, where he's in a sticky situation that he's got no experience in relegation battles or anything like that. So I think Lampard really should have been in the Championship more, do what Wayne Rooney's doing, and actually building up. It's a
Well,
different
yeah, definitely.
situation.
Yeah,
Because the more experience you have in doing things like that, it's going to help you out. And at the moment, Lampard's just stuck in a situation where he can't get the players to win
no,
a single game, and he's got no experience in relegation fights or being relegated. Even as a player, he was always at the top.
yeah.
Do you think, though, what you look at the teams around Everton, obviously like Burnley, the 1 point below them, do you think that obviously because Dyche has got experience with them in the Championship and the Premier League, do you think he's going to be able to keep Burnley up?
I mean, he's done a pretty good job of it for the last however many years he's been there. So I can see Burnley staying up. I think they have a few quality players. Obviously, we know Cornet is very good. That new striker they signed, Weghorst, very good. I think they've got a solid backbone in their team, which obviously they're not going to play the best football and all that like Man City or whatever. But I think they're a bit more solid than Everton, and they have those players that they can rely on. So I would put my money on them Burnley staying up over Everton. Plus, I just prefer Burnley, so I'd
Yeah.
rather they stayed up.
Yeah, I think it's also when you look at the players. I was listening to Talksport earlier, and they were saying about the situation as well. That you look at Everton's squad, and you can't get. You've got a group of players that don't believe they can win at the
No,
moment, whereas Burnley have been in the situation before. They know what they're doing. They've
yeah,
got a manager who knows what they're doing. They believe they can win. They're playing against everyone above them. You might as well just go for it, which is what's happening at the
exactly.
moment.
Yeah,
Whereas Everton are kind of in we're normally eighth. What are we doing down here? Like, oh, we're doing awful, and you
yeah,
can't seem to get anything out of them. Um, it's just a horrible situation for Everton fans, but quite a laugh for everyone else, really.
yeah.
Then if you look right at the top, it's City and Liverpool going out for the title. You look at our predictions originally, as we've commented on before, we went near United at the start of the season. Then I think we both changed it to Chelsea.
How right were we?
And then we
When did
moved.
we change to Chelsea? What time?
Uh, I don't know. I'll find the clip at some point. But we were like, oh, United, no, they're nowhere near. We were well off. Chelsea are going to get it. Chelsea have now had the final whistle prediction curse.
Yep.
And it's not going great for them. So there's 1 point, I think, between City and Liverpool at the moment. How much it's got to come down to the City Liverpool game coming up in the next 2 weeks, hasn't it? Between who wins the title.
I mean, that is the big decider, but obviously it's not. You can say that, but it's obviously not necessarily true because it's bold to say that they're both going to win all their games for the rest of the season. They have a few obviously slip ups inside of them. They're not excellent top tier. Not, I mean, actually, no, they are very good, but you know what I mean. They're not going to keep 100%, I don't think. So it would definitely be a massive factor, and you'd say whoever wins that game is definitely more likely to go on to win it, but it's not 100%. So yeah, I personally think that I have no prediction, but I'd rather Liverpool win the league over Man City because it's a bit more interesting because City win it every year.
Yeah. See, if it was any other team but Liverpool, I would be like supporting them to win the league. So City don't win.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I know what you mean.
it's a shame it's the club that fans are extremely annoying. Sorry, Liverpool fans.
I don't find that annoying. That's not as bad as they're just the same as any other team, to be honest.
Don't like
Specifically, I can't remember. Apart from Jonathan and
yeah,
Adam.
yeah. Also those teams in the Champions League, doing all right. Liverpool coasted a lot.
Benfica
Against
3-1.
Yeah, and then City was 1-0.
Atletico Madrid, yeah.
Very good goal. Do you think that those teams are obviously City are being dubbed as some of the favourites to win it as usual, but have got their Champions League curse? Do you think it's going to be an English side picking it up this year again?
I think it's going to be Real Madrid. Personally, I think they have one of, if not arguably, the best player in the world right now in Benzema. They've got a really solid team. Obviously, their midfield just doesn't seem to age. Like they've had that midfield since I was like 3 years old, and they're still going. Obviously they've got a fairly solid defense. They're doing okay with Militao and Alaba, and obviously Carvajal and who's their left back? I can't remember. Furlong Mendy, I think
Yeah.
maybe. So yeah, they have a solid team. Vinicius Junior is excellent. Obviously, if I don't think I was going to say Hazard, I don't think he's going to play, but I just think they're even though they had a slip up against Barcelona, they're cruising in La Liga. I think they're very confident, and Benzema's in great form. So I'm going to put my money on and then winning it personally, but I definitely think we'll see an English side in the final at least.
Well, I was beforehand. I was going to say, oh, look, Bayern Munich are doing really well, but then they lost last night, like
Yeah, it's
to
Villarreal.
Villarreal 1-0. Um, so I don't know what happened there, but I'm sure they'll like win 4-0 in the second leg or something like that. It
It was a
sounds,
funny game. However,
yeah,
how many years ago Dan Juma was playing for Bournemouth and now he's scoring against Bayern in the
in the Champions League.
Champions
Yeah.
League.
It's also interesting. I was when I was watching some of the City game against Atletico, the amount of the fact that the Atletico players, sorry, just they ended up in like a 5-5 formation because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
strikers had dropped back. And it was just crazy. I think that shows City's qualities that they managed to get past
Hmm.
two blocks of defenders the whole time. But
Yeah,
it's going to be a really good game, I think, in the away leg as well for them.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, Real Madrid are on fire. They obliterated Chelsea, and like Tuchel's interview afterwards was just
Yeah,
like, well, we were rubbish, and if we do that, then we're going to lose to Southampton as well. Um,
exactly.
I think that tie is pretty gone now. I don't think Chelsea can come back with that. What do you
They
think?
they they could have come out of that in like okay. Obviously, I've watched the highlights. There was a chance Lukaku had a free header,
Mm,
literally an open goal, and he missed it. And then the third goal, Mendy, have you seen it? He just passed it to Benzema,
yeah,
put it in. So if they did those two things, they would have been in the game. But now I think it's gone and done and dusted. I think they're gonna cruise out, and Real Madrid will go through definitely. But you never know. You never know.
yeah, it's strange. Seeing someone that won the Champions League last year just collapse like they have. Um,
Yeah,
you look at Liverpool, Mohamed Salah's contract thing is still going on. He was previously demanding £500,000 a week. Don't know whether that's still the case and whether he still wants that amount of money. Um, do you think that Salah is worth Liverpool paying £500,000 a week for? Because obviously he's really good, but
yeah.
this is a
I
ridiculous
mean,
amount of money.
he's had a bit of a drop off in form as well recently. So to say that £500,000 a week is a lot of money, even for big contract players, that is ridiculous. Like some prem players are on 350k what a week, and that's huge. Like I think Mesut Ozil was on that 500k a week to commit to a 29, 30-year old.
Mm,
I don't know how long the contract will be. Maybe what 2 or 3 years.
3 years, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I don't realistically that Liverpool can't get rid of Salah. Surely they can't let him go, but can they justify spending that much money on him? Like it's a weird situation.
And considering it's a team that are famously in the previous few years so tight with their money that they barely spend anything in the transfer
Yeah.
market anyway. The,
Well, I
the,
mean, they spent bloody like 75 mil on Van Dyke, 50 mil on Allison,
but
50 mil
past
on Kate,
after Van Dyke, they've not really spent any money on massive players. Obviously, they've brought Jota in. That wasn't a
and
lot of money.
Diaz. Jota 40 mil. Diaz was what 40 mil as well. I think was he 25?
I'm not sure, but you compare it to other big clubs. The fact like when they were struggling for a centre back, they were like, "There's a guy from Preston that we can get."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I know what you mean.
that someone then willing to spend like £26 million a year on him for potentially 3 years is a ridiculous amount of money. And
It
then
is a
there's
lot.
also the links for Mbappe on a free transfer. Obviously, the favorite is Real Madrid. But there's also links to Liverpool. Do you think there's any likelihood of that happening? Because I don't think I can see him
Want
in
to
a
go to
Liverpool shirt.
Liverpool? No, I don't think so. He wants to be a Galactico, or I mean, at the minute, I think Mbappe is going to stay. It looks like he's going to sign a contract extension for one year. I think at PSG. I'm not too sure, but I've heard rumours of that him to not leave. I know we'll see what happens. It's all talk. There's no
Yeah,
idea what they're going to do.
it's crazy. Liverpool need to I think they'll end up getting Salah for, and I reckon it'll end up being probably more like 300,000 and 370,000 or 400,000. Because
What is he on at the minute? Do you not have any idea?
I'm not sure. Let me quickly find out. But for someone to go straight into negotiations wanting 500 K a week is a bit ridiculous. At the moment, he
Yeah.
on 240,000 a week.
Okay.
Um,
Bless him. How's he coping?
it's not enough money.
No.
Also, if he loves Liverpool so much, why would he want? I know why he wants it. 'Cause it's money, and he's been
Yeah.
good. But do you really need £500,000 a week? No. So needs to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, I think he needs to calm down. Who else is on that kind of wage? Like who? The closest is probably De Gea, isn't he on like 400K a week?
Yeah, he's on some ridiculous.
Ronaldo's on 500K a week, and that's Ronaldo. I'm not saying he's better than Ronaldo right now, but
But then Ronaldo brings in the commercial
it's just
Ronaldo
Ronaldo.
brand
It's
with it.
Ronaldo.
So
No disrespect to Salah, but it's Ronaldo. You know,
yeah,
it's
he's he's not at 500 grand a week level. Like partly
who
probably
Ronaldo.
no Salah. Partly because probably he's been playing in the Messi Ronaldo era, and
Yeah,
he's not being the
I mean, we
double.
can't underplay him. He's been
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, just not
He's been
£500,000 worth.
no, because no one's worth that. Realistically, no one's worth that much money.
Apart from
Even
Ronaldo.
footballers, apart from Ronaldo.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. That's all we've got to go through today. If you've enjoyed, then if you're listening on Spotify, make sure to follow us on there, and the same on Apple Podcasts. And if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. We really appreciate your support. Check out some other episodes while you're at it. You know, Marco Ivanovic interview, doing well. Keep going, check that out if you haven't already. Thank you everybody for listening. That was the final whistle.